All right, today we're going to be answering the question, which storage system should you buy? The Milwaukee, the DeWalt, or the Ridgid? Now, you might notice over there to the left, I do have a Pelican case, and it is there for a reason that I'm going to get into right now. All right, so the first thing I want to go over is the cost. The reason this Pelican case is here is because this thing is $285 right now. Now I got this maybe 5 years ago for $209, but right now it is $285. In comparison, the Milwaukee Packout system is $199, the DeWalt system is $149, and the Ridgid is basically $100, so it's $99. So $100, $150, and $200. $285. Now that you see that bad boy there, I'm going to go ahead and wheel it out of the way. But before I wheel this out of the way, I want to answer the question why people even get this thing. Most photographers get this to protect their camera equipment, and that's what I did. I got one of the large cases with the foam inserts and all of that. But I quickly filled that bad boy up, and once I did, I needed another case, and I really just refused to pay that money. I mean, I just kind of swap stuff out and take what I need if I'm going somewhere. But this thing is really expensive, really fast. It's heavy. It is very, very well made. Okay, I'll give it that. But really, for what I'm doing, I really don't need that level of protection for my camera equipment. So I personally feel like this is, I mean, it's overkill. It's straight up overkill. And one of these systems would do great as camera storage. Now most people, if you're watching this, you're probably looking at this for tools, but it is actually a great case, a great system for camera equipment as well. So let me go ahead and wheel this out of the way and we can get into the comparison of the three. All right, so now that we've covered the cost, I want to get into storage space, which is very interesting. Now, I'm going to compare each case individually. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over the smaller cases on the top. Now, if we line them up side by side, you might be able to immediately notice a difference. The Milwaukee is way bigger than the DeWalt. The DeWalt is slightly larger than the Ridgid. Now, even though their footprint is different, when we get to measuring the inside, it's a total different story. All right, first up we have the Milwaukee. Now the Milwaukee comes with 4 storage units on the inside of the top case. Now, I'm gonna just tell you straight up, this is way more storage than any of the other two. The other two just have 2, just generally cups on the side. This has the cups, but it also has these extra storage pieces, and that's more versatile than the DeWalt and the Ridgid. You'll see that in a second. But what I want to do, I didn't even know it could do that. I didn't even know these things was movable. I just found that out on accident. But what I want to measure is the interior space. So I'm going to measure the shortest distance from back to front. So this has this little hump right there. You really can't see it. Let me show you. I want to have a thorough video. All right, so there's this little hump. So I'm going to measure from here to there. And then, since it is such a small hump, I'm going to measure from here to the back as well. I'm going to measure from the side, and I'm also going to measure the diagonal space. The reason I'm measuring the diagonal space is because I have some Milwaukee pry bars, and I was wondering if that pry bar would fit in there. Sidebar story. So a couple Saturdays ago, I was going to get this system, but I was really tired and I really couldn't figure out whether that pry bar would fit. I didn't want to get it if the pry bar didn't fit, the extra long one. I should have gotten it that day because there was an error where the bottom piece was ringing up for $59, and there was a lot of people getting this Milwaukee Packout for $129. If they chose to get the crate, which I have back there, it was $109. So I would have got like 3 of these things. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'm kind of glad I didn't do it because it allowed me to get the DeWalt and the Ridgid and compare all this stuff side by side for you. So let's measure the diagonal space. Here in the Milwaukee, it is about 22.5 inches from front to back. On the shortest part with that hump, we're looking right at 12 inches, a little over that. Beside the hump, it's 13 inches, so that hump actually takes out a whole inch of space. Side to side, we're looking at 18 3/4 inches, okay? And now let's measure the height. We're right at just under 4.5 inches. Now let's move over to DeWalt. The DeWalt has these storage systems. And another thing about this, which makes this interesting, I should have demonstrated with the Milwaukee, but these are not really secure. It's not like they latch or kind of go in place. They wiggle around a lot. And by contrast, the Milwaukee, it wiggles a little bit too, but not nearly as much. Even with this other piece on top of it, it doesn't really move around that much. So as far as the internal compartments, the Milwaukee is a lot better. Alright, so let's measure side to side. Here we have 19. I believe in the Milwaukee we had 18 3/4. That's right, so the DeWalt is wider. Offers more space. That way, from back to front, we're talking about 11 inches. It falls short a whole inch, even when comparing it to that little hump. That hump gave you 12 inches, and going to the side of the hump in the Milwaukee, it gave you 13. And now let's go diagonal. Diagonal, we have 23 inches, okay, just short of 23 inches. And in the Milwaukee, we had 22.5. So diagonal, the diagonal space of the DeWalt is greater than the Milwaukee. And now finally we're going to measure the height. And the height is, that's just under 4.5 inches. And what was the Milwaukee again? The Milwaukee was a little, it's like right at 4.5 inches. So it's really a toss up. I mean, as far as depth goes, the Milwaukee gives you more space, but the DeWalt gives you more space width-wise. Overall, if you were to measure the cubic square inches, the Milwaukee would be just a little bit deep, just a little bit better. Now let's go over to the Ridgid. Alright, the Ridgid has the cups in here, and the Ridgid cups are actually a lot more secure than the DeWalt. You see, I mean, they can move around a little bit, but it's nowhere near as much play as the DeWalt. And then you have this removable wall here as well. Not as secure as the Milwaukee, but I mean, it's not bad at all. So let's remove this. And you're probably looking like, whoa, dude, that is way smaller than the DeWalt. And you'd be right. So let's measure from front to back. We have 10.5 inches. The DeWalt, I believe, was 11. And the Milwaukee was 12 and 13. Side to side. We have 19.5, and wait a minute, if I recall correctly, that's actually wider than the DeWalt at 19 inches. The DeWalt was at 19, that's 19.5, and I believe the Milwaukee was what, like 18 3/4. So the Ridgid is actually wider. Let's measure diagonally. 22.5 inches. I believe this is 23. No, it was 22 3/4 basically. The Milwaukee was 22 and 3/4. So diagonally, the Ridgid is not that bad. It competes very well with these, but offers a much smaller footprint. Now the depth is right at, it's not deep at all, at, what is that? That is like 3 3/4, so almost a whole inch shorter. Yeah, almost a whole inch shorter than the Milwaukee and the DeWalt. But again, considering the price points, it's not too bad. So as far as storage space goes for the top component, I would personally say that each one was a good value for their price. Considering this is $50 less than this and this is $50 less than this. Overall, I would say that as far as storage space is concerned, in the top storage bin, the DeWalt is probably the best bang for the buck. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Instead of boring you with measuring each interior of every toolbox, I'll just simply tell you it's the same thing across the board. The Ridgid is slightly smaller than the DeWalt. The DeWalt in some ways is larger than the Milwaukee, just not in depth, but diagonal space. It offers more storage space, and I can actually just show you guys with that pry bar I was talking about. All right, so here's the pry bar. I'm going to first put it in the Milwaukee Packout. I'm going to leave that insert there. And there you are. Matter of fact, I'll take it out for you guys so you can see that I put it in there properly. All right, so it does fit in there, but I don't have a whole lot of clearance from the top of the tool to the top of the toolbox. So this is the Milwaukee. Let's go ahead and put it inside of the DeWalt. As you can see with the DeWalt, it also fits, but look at all that clearance. Now see, I could do all the measuring in the world, but a real life example will really tell you what these things are capable of. So look at all that space. It's way more cargo space inside of the DeWalt. Now let's try the Ridgid. I've actually never tried to put in a Ridgid before. Oh my gosh! Look at that. I mean, this thing spanks the Milwaukee. This is actually my first time taking off this lid. All right, so first of all, well, no, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Okay, hold on. I can remove this. This is just laying in there. But if we remove that, I mean, can I make this fall all the way flat? Nah, I can't do that. But that right there is very, very impressive. Okay, now hold on. Let's get the measuring tape out. We got to measure this. I'm sorry. How much space is that? That is almost 4.5 inches from the tool to the top. Nah, I don't think the Ridgid is beating the DeWalt, but that's a little over 5 inches right there. But in the Milwaukee, and as you guys can see, I'm a Milwaukee fan. Most of my tools are Milwaukee, but that don't always mean the Milwaukee's the best. Like, I have a tire inflator, and that's a Ryobi. I have a lot of Ryobi tools too, because some things the Ryobi, you know, just for the money gets the job done. This is 2 inches. So the Milwaukee actually, despite being having more depth as this overall system than the other two, it has less room, less cargo space. And you can see, because all those little ridges, and I'm going to kind of get to this, but you can see the tires. The tires are recessed inside, whereas on the DeWalt, the tires kind of poke out. Now, that makes for, we're about to get into a mobility. Mobility is better on the Milwaukee, but kind of, and you'll see what I mean next. So anyway, that was a very interesting thing. I'm sorry to keep dwelling on it, but I totally did not expect this out of the Ridgid. Didn't expect it. All right, so next we're going to do a mobility test. So in my garage right now, I have my car, and I have this little tight walkway. You can't really see, but there's a little trash can right here. Then I have some wooden stands that I made for, wooden jack stands I made for the car. And it is a really tight spot for these packouts. So we're going to see which one could get through here the easiest. The Ridgid got through that just fine. I think the DeWalt scuffed my car. Milwaukee got through there real easy. I would say that the Milwaukee seemed to get through the easiest. Next was the Ridgid, and obviously the DeWalt scratched my bumper, so yeah, that didn't win. Alright, so while the Ridgid in Milwaukee didn't do any damage at all, this is what the DeWalt left me with. I should be able to buffer polish that out. Alright, so we just tested how agile the different boxes are, and you know, clearly the DeWalt is the least agile, and I have them facing the back so that you guys can see why. If you look at the tires on the DeWalt, they stick out. So they built it like just the box system as a rectangle, and then just stuck some wheels on the side. Whereas if we look directly behind the Milwaukee, they created the wheels as part of the rectangular shape, which makes it a lot more agile. As for the Ridgid itself just seems to have a smaller footprint, but the wheel is a combination of the DeWalt and the Milwaukee. Let me try to zoom in a little bit because this one's a little harder to see. You can see that the storage system kind of cuts into the middle of the wheel. Well, with the exception of the flare out up here. It lines up perfectly with the wheel, so it kind of does make it straight up and down, making the wheels to not really protrude like that. So good designs there, but that does not mean that the Milwaukee or the Ridgid are the most enjoyable to use. Now I'll say that because, well, let me demonstrate. Listen to the Milwaukee go across the floor. That is moderately loud. It's not really loud, but you can hear it. Now let's listen to the Ridgid. That's actually a little similar to the Milwaukee as far as sound goes, but what you guys can't experience is, for whatever reason, this makes the floor shake. I don't know why. Maybe it's because the wheels are smaller and they're made of rubber. But I'm thinking maybe it's because they're smaller and just the overall construction of them. They kind of have this just this ridge every inch, and that's it. Whereas the Milwaukee is shaped more like a tire that you find on a car. However, the Milwaukee really isn't rubber. It's like a soft plastic. Now, let's check out the DeWalt, which, if we look at the tread here, it looks like a tread that you would find on a Michelin tire or something. And it is also very tough rubber. So let's listen to this. No, I did not put the video on mute. It is like my Lexus. This thing is whisper quiet. I can't even say whisper quiet. You don't hear the wheels at all, and I love it. It is just buttery smooth and feels very luxurious. So, me personally, I'm willing to give this one to DeWalt because even though its footprint is a little wider and it scratched my car, it is just really, really comfortable to move around. It's smooth, it doesn't shake the floor, and it's quiet. And to me, that is because of a well-built tire. So I think that these tires will go the distance. Now, with that said, if you go on Milwaukee.com, you'll actually see a lot of complaints about the wheels on these Packouts falling off. It's funny, I've never heard any YouTubers talk about it, but the Milwaukee's wheels apparently fall off, and they get no service from Milwaukee, surprisingly, because a wheel falling off is clearly a defect, but Milwaukee doesn't warrant it, and they end up having to, jig something together to get the wheel to stay back on. So, that's something I'm not really looking forward to if I keep this system. But moving on. All right, now we're going to talk about functionality. Functionality is pretty much going to just cover how easy it is to use the boxes. Now, this part might take a little bit of time. But actually, before we get there, I want to, since we were talking about the wheels, let me address the durability. Now, these handles, you may see that all the handles are different. The Milwaukee handle goes the highest, which I appreciate and will come in handy when you're adding extra modular pieces to it. It makes it easy to wheel heavier things. Whereas the DeWalt and the Ridgid kind of max out with 3 boxes here. You can still put something else on top of it, but you won't be able to stack them as high as the Milwaukee. But check this out. As you can see, the handle on the Ridgid is much more narrow than the Milwaukee and the DeWalt. And also you have a lot of play, a significant amount of play here. And this is made of, it's made of like a, I can't tell whether it's plastic or really thin metal, but it feels really flimsy. I don't think this would be an issue, but when you tilt this thing back, it does that, and that is a little concerning. I actually saw on Amazon, one of the reviews, someone showed that this thing bent, and I believe it because if you put enough weight on this thing, it is possible that this thing very much so can bend. And if it bent, then that means that it is actually metal. So that is one thing you have to be careful of. You definitely need to follow the manufacturer's instructions when it comes to weight. All right, so I had to look it up online to figure out the weight capacity. So for the Ridgid, the top box, the smallest one, we're looking at, I'm blocking the shot, but we're looking at a weight capacity of 25 pounds. For the second one, we're looking at a weight capacity of 50 pounds. And for the bottom one with the wheels, we're looking at a weight capacity of a whopping 60 pounds. So in total for the whole system, 135 pounds, which is not anything when you're talking about tools. So I can see why the person bent it, and of course if you use it outside the manufacturer's spec, they will not they will not honor that claim. So you need to be very mindful of that when you're talking about this Ridgid system here. Alright, moving on to DeWalt. I had those specs up too. But first we're gonna demonstrate, I wanna demonstrate the handle. Check this out. No movement whatsoever. Now, even though the handle doesn't move though, let me show you the cases. The cases, on the other hand, they move quite a bit. More than I'm comfortable with. I don't like that, but that, again, that's not the handle. That's the cases. And it's due to the way that they latch, just the lacking mechanisms that make them shift like that. And I don't like that, but that's something we'll get to. Next, after we finish going over the handles, and finally we have, oh, let's talk about the weight capacities and the DeWalt. So for the DeWalt, we have, for the second box, we have a weight capacity of 110 pounds, which is pretty good, considering the whole three-piece over here is 135. So the second one's 110 pounds. The top piece is rated at 110 pounds as well, which is amazing for this little thing. And the bottom piece does 250 pounds. So you have a total of 470 pounds. Yeah, that's right. 470 pounds for this whole system compared to 130, whatever it was. It doesn't matter. It was pitiful. Yeah, I don't think I can recommend the Ridgid when it comes to tools. Moving on to the Milwaukee. This top piece can hold 75 pounds. The middle piece 100 pounds, and the bottom 250. So it doesn't hold as much as the DeWalt, but it does hold a lot more than the Ridgid. Now, let's look at the handle while we're over here. It moves a little bit, a lot more than the DeWalt, a lot less than the Ridgid, and as far as the stack itself goes, I didn't do this on the Ridgid. Nothing at all. Just this thing rocking back a little bit. While we're at it though, let's look at the Ridgid one more time, because I didn't go over the sturdiness of the boxes. They also don't move. I mean, there still is the Milwaukee system, which is impressive for a $100 setup. Now, I did just notice once I went online and looked up the weight capacities of these boxes that at Home Depot now this is actually 130. So I had to change my price here and say that this is 130. And if you consider this 130 and this is 149, I mean, it's really a no-brainer which one to get. I'm almost wondering why I even had this here, but if you can catch this for $100, which I think you probably will, especially this weekend on Black Friday, you know, you could potentially consider it. Now, let's get into functionality and ease of use. All right, one of the first things I'll get into is how these handles go down. Now, on the Milwaukee, there's a button all the way back here in the back. You push it down, and this thing drops. Same for the DeWalt. You push it down, and this thing drops, but not all the way down flush like the Milwaukee. And the Milwaukee, by the way, when it went down, it smashed my hand. The DeWalt didn't do that. And finally, on the Ridgid, the button is on the top, which I would prefer, and it goes down the furthest. This is actually something to see. All right, if you check that out, you can see here is the Milwaukee. This is as low as it goes. This is the button. See, as low as it goes. If we check out the DeWalt system, here's the button, it's yellow one. And this is as low as it goes. Right there. And if we look at the Ridgid, this is as low as it goes. This is all the way down level with the button on the DeWalt. It's just pretty impressive. So this makes this a much more compact system as far as the handle goes. All right, this is the easiest handle to use. By the way, there's another thing I didn't mention. You can actually remove the handle of the DeWalt. These little red things down here, you can lock them. And you can remove this thing. All right. I can't personally think of a reason why this will be useful. Maybe when you're putting it on a pickup truck or something like that. I have no idea. I don't know why this will be useful, but it is possible. So one thing to keep in mind, and then you just, turn these things back out, these little locks. That one wasn't so bad. But on the Milwaukee, I don't know whether that's possible. It does look like it is. I just don't know how to do it. And I'm not gonna figure it out on camera, so let's move back around to the front. All right, if you're still watching, thank you for hanging in there. I know the video was long. It's one of the longest review videos I've ever done, but it's a lot to cover, and we haven't really even scratched the surface. So let's get into the ease of use, and I'm just gonna try to be as to the point as possible. The first thing I want to talk about are the latches, the entry into the packs themselves. I don't like the DeWalt. Like, I hate it, and I'm going to show you why. If I open this up, first of all, you see it was kind of difficult. And a lot of you said, well, good, it's good on and tight. Well, check this out. Very easy on the Ridgid. Milwaukee, a little tougher, but still very easy. I can't do that on the DeWalt system. And even if I did with one hand, it's gonna pop my hand and eventually fracture my finger right here. The reason it does that is because these latches, let's see if I can zoom in on that. Let me just bring you in. Okay, this latch right here is super long. It's way longer than the Ridgid and the Milwaukee. Oh, where's my measuring tape? So on the DeWalt, this thing is 2.5 inches. On the Milwaukee, it's 2 inches, and on the Ridgid, it's also 2 inches. And that is really the sweet spot. That 1/2 inch, when you pull it up, pops the bone right here at your pinky, and it hurts so bad. The first time I did it, this was red for a few hours. I mean, I know I didn't fracture it, but doing that enough times, this can fracture the bone right there. So I don't like it. You have to be extra careful when you're opening this box. Another thing, closing it. That actually hurt too. That hurt my thumb pretty bad. But it's very loud and obnoxious. The Milwaukee, well, it was pretty loud too, actually, but it didn't hurt my finger. And the Ridgid, it wasn't nearly as loud. So that is that. That is actually something worth noting because you're going to be going in and out of it all day. That's one of the main things you're going to be using. Now, another thing that I just actually noticed with the Ridgid is on these latches, you have a little hole here for a lock, okay? And it's one on each one. You put 2 locks per box. On the DeWalt, it's only one right here in the middle. And on the Milwaukee, it's one also right here, but it's not quite in the middle. It's a little off to the right. It's not centered, which is a little interesting because, I don't know, you don't even notice that, but you know, I don't know, usually when it comes to art and beauty, you kind of want things to be symmetrical. I would have thought that they'd have made it symmetrical because they spent a lot of time with the design and the unique look of the box. Because one thing's for sure, the Milwaukee set I think it's pretty. I think this is more, I know everybody gonna hate me for saying this, but it's more feminine. The box is more feminine. It is beautiful to me. As far as looks go, I personally prefer the Ridgid. The Ridgid seems more manly to me. I like the orange, hits against the black, and all the extra little tactical designs on there, the lines. I like the Ridgid as far as looks go. The DeWalt, it looks a lot better than its old system, but it still kind of just looks like a big box. Anyway, moving on. So let's now talk about the locking mechanisms and getting the boxes on and off. Now you guys already seen me do this earlier in the video, but now let's get up close and personal on how these things actually function. Now, on the Ridgid, the mechanism is on the side here as it is on the DeWalt. Let me back up a little bit. And it's a really simple system. It's just this rod here that has this piece of rubber for grip, and you just snap it in place on the top. And when you want to take it off, you just pull it and unsnap it. Now, this system is working really well, but there was a system in the store, and I don't know if it was because it was my first time playing around with it. It was tough. it was hard to really put this in place, and I just knew like, oh, there's no way I can continue to deal with that. But the system that came to me, the bottom one was a little tougher, but it's still not hard. It's not like you need 2 hands to do it. But the one in the store, I did need 2 hands to put them in place, and that was a little bit concerning. Let's check on this side. See? Easy to use. On the bottom, very easy to use too. Again, that's not always the case with these, so I would say if you're going in the store or you're going to buy it out of the store, try them. And if you're going to order this online, order it from a store where you can walk in and take it back and swap it out for one that locks seamlessly, because there could be a slight manufacturing defect. Now, let me talk about why I like this better than the other systems. It's simple. This is not likely to break. It's heavy duty, and that's pretty much it. I like it. Now moving on to the DeWalt. All right, now for the DeWalt system, it's a little bit different. So on the DeWalt system, you have these latches here, okay? And they are simple, but I don't know how long these will last before they become problematic. So all you gotta do is just push this thing out, and it clicks out, and then lift it up one side and it comes out. You only need to deal with one side. And to put it back on, you just line it up on one side and just snap it back in place. And then that's it, it's in there. Now, while that's very, very simple, it's easier than the Ridgid, my issue is this is spring loaded. Like when I open it up, oh, see, there you go, it just closed back on me. We're already having problems. That's supposed to stay open. Okay, so y'all just seen that, and that's my point. It's already having problems. So it's spring loaded, and I mean, it just validated my point. It's spring loaded, and springs wear out over time. Not only is it spring loaded, but it relies on a latch. So once you push the spring back, it has to attach to something. I don't know what it attaches to stay open like that. Now it only does it if something is inside the slot, which I'm a little curious at this point what that is. Let me try the other side. I don't know what that is. I don't know, latches on to something, but this side is not doing it. See, I already have a problem. And that was my concern. So there you go. And I've never used this thing. These are brand new. So that's the DeWalt. And for Milwaukee, yeah, America's favorite, right? Wrong, not for me. The reason, I told the story before how I wanted to get them that weekend, and I could have got this thing for $129 due to the little glitch, but I didn't. You want to know why? Because I couldn't figure out what the pry bar fit. But you want to know why I couldn't figure out why the pry bar fit? Because I couldn't figure out how to get the thing off. And I couldn't find any associates at Home Depot to help me, so I ended up missing the deal. So, I mean, there's no instructions or anything in this thing. I'm sitting there looking like a fool trying to figure out how to get this thing off. At least on the Ridgid and the DeWalt, it's very obvious how to do it. Now, I appreciate them making it seamless, but give us some instructions, an arrow or something. So what you do is a little button right here. You lift it up, and simultaneously, it doesn't lock into place. Simultaneously, you must slide it towards you, and get it out of the grooves, and then you can pull it off. Now, don't get me wrong, once you get used to it, it's easy. And then you push it back and slide in place. But pushing it is not always convenient. If it's not up against a wall or something, you have to really position your body. So I had to use my left hand to put it in the back and hold the other box in place to push the thing into place. And that's not always convenient. So I would say when everything is working the way it's supposed to on all the systems, the Milwaukee is the most difficult system to get in place. And also I would say to slide out too. Now, this leads me to another issue. to another point. Grab handles. The Milwaukee, they have a little place for you to grab, and it feels pretty good, especially if you have gloves on. It won't be a big issue. Using your bare hands, this won't be the most comfortable. The DeWalt, on the other hand, has these hidden grab handles that pop up for you to grab. And of course, that is super convenient. They have it on that one, they have it on the other one. And on the bottom, yeah, it's a little different. It's kind of like the Milwaukee, but it's a little bit better because it's not flat. It kind of goes up and gives you a nice, something nice to grip, so it gives you a lot of leverage. Now on the Ridgid system, I honestly haven't figured out what you're supposed to grab onto. I have no idea. I don't know if you're supposed to grab onto this. You could, you really could, especially if you're utilizing that lightweight. But my concern is, what if I'm holding it like this and I accidentally pull it out somehow? Well, I guess you could. That's not that easy to do, but there really isn't any place to grab this thing. I really assume you're just supposed to grab it by this. I don't know. Or maybe, I don't know, at the front it seems this, you can grab it, but I think this is just to lift the lid up. I have no idea. I don't know. I pretty much cover all of the important things. I would say that the DeWalt and the Milwaukee are easy to lug around because they do have a little foot thing to tilt it back. The Ridgid, it kind of has something back there. But the other thing is opening up, like accessing the second box with the other box on top of it. And all of them pieces, they go back like that. Now let's tilt them all back. Now, admittedly here, that Ridgid feel like it's about to tip over. The DeWalt feels solid, the Milwaukee feels the most solid. And I did want to cover one more thing, just talking about the durability of these systems again. Now let's look at the hinge on the Milwaukee. It's very clean. You have the hinge built into the box itself, and then you have the big, I don't know, you just have this thing there. And on the DeWalt, it's a gap right there. And the hinges, it's only really 4 pieces that are attaching the lid to this piece, and that really is not all that stable. I mean, it's stable, but if that was loaded down, this is with nothing in it. If that was loaded down, I don't know how long that would last. Now on the Ridgid, it's actually better built than the DeWalt. For real, it has more hinges. Now, of course, more hinges is going to be better, but this thing is really light. I mean, if this was top heavy, this would tilt back. It's still a little top heavy. And as you can see, this thing is ready to tilt now, see? It's ready to fall. So, not that well balanced, but still better built. Overall, I would say as far as the hinges go, Milwaukee to me seems to be the most reliable, Ridgid second, and DeWalt third. Now, with all that said, let me close this so I'll knock this over. Which one do I recommend? And the answer is, I don't know. I don't know. It depends on what you're using it for. And it depends on what you value and your budget. Now, if this Ridgid system is $129, I would count that out. If it's $100 like I got it for, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. You have to just factor in everything we went over. I will say this, and this is kind of important depending on your trade. The Milwaukee system has more accessories. You can build a lot on it. They have just a ton of accessories that latch onto the Packout system. I also didn't go over these little silver ridges here where you can hang stuff on. None of the other systems have that, but they have a ton of different types of boxes. DeWalt has more than Ridgid, but nowhere near as many as Milwaukee, and Ridgid really basically has none. You just kind of get in the same boxes and stack them on top of each other. The DeWalt 1.0 system is supposedly backwards compatible with this. DeWalt has these little things, if you were wondering what these are for. These little pieces here that flip up. Now this is for anything that uses half the size. So Milwaukee has little cases that can go and fit on half of the side of the Packout. And so I guess DeWalt will have them. I haven't seen them, but I guess because this system did just come out a few months ago, so I guess they plan on making those, and that's what this is for. You can flip it up and they fit into place. The Milwaukee system is a lot more comprehensive when it comes to that because of all these ridges, and you can kind of see. At first I thought these were like little holders for, you know, beer or soda or something, but nah, you can put stuff in here while you work, which is convenient, but it's for locking other things in. You can do something on this side, you can do something on this side, and you can just stack them up, and then you can, you know, have it's really modular. It is really really flexible and versatile system. So, you know, I don't know, it just kind of depends on your budget, depends on your trade. It depends on if you are going to be wheeling these things around a lot. Keep in mind the weight capacities, and remember, you know, people haven't been happy with the Milwaukee wheels falling off. DeWalt, I haven't heard anything, but I don't think that this system is old enough to really hear a whole lot. We already saw that this latching system will fail. It just failed on me, and this is brand new, so I'm going to have to go swap that out. And you know, the Ridgid is the Ridgid. Now, as for me, what am I keeping? I think I might keep all three. I think I might just use the Ridgid for my camera equipment, and instead of spending $200 on another case for tools, I'm gonna just obviously keep the cheaper DeWalt. I mean, they both good. I kind of like the DeWalt a little bit better than the Milwaukee because of how smooth it rolls. It has more storage space, but you know, that latching system I don't really like. The Milwaukee does a lot right, but it's, you know, the Milwaukee does everything right. What it's supposed to do, it does well. The Ridgid and the DeWalt have little quirks about them, but you know, overall, especially for the money, I just feel like the DeWalt is a little bit better. But again, it depends on what you're doing. The DeWalt on paper holds more weight, and you know, just gotta figure it out. I hope this video was helpful. I just wanted to kind of be objective and show everybody everything, the differences, where they matter, and you know, you can make your own decision from there. The last thing I want to cover that I meant to go over is these little tags here on the DeWalt ToughSystem 2.0. You can actually pop this up. Ow! You can pop that up. Look, that hurt my hand too. The DeWalt will beat you up. You can pop that out, label it, and put whatever on there, then put it on there and slide that back in, so you can just kind of walk up to it and see what's in each case, which to me is very convenient, because if I had a whole bunch of Milwaukee stuff and used some for tools and stuff for cameras, and I kept them in the same place, I wouldn't know which is which. I just got to keep going through the stuff to see what's what. So that is it. I hope that this was helpful. Happy shopping. It is Black Friday 2020, and right now you can get some good deals. Home Depot has been doing Black Friday all month pretty much, and I will be making some videos of some of the stuff that I've gotten and some of the deals that Home Depot is having. And yeah, I'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching. One last thing, I was putting all this stuff up, and I know I've seen a lot of these videos of people talk about fanboys, and it might be a lot of people out there that think I'm a DeWalt fanboy, but actually, I had that stuff hidden. I mean, look at my tools. Okay, look at my tools. This is a DeWalt, this is a Milwaukee light, which has come in, I mean, handy for me. Got this little Ryobi thing. Black Friday deal. This is only $20, $19. Amazing. Milwaukee, you know, Milwaukee, and this bad boy gets a lot of use. I got some more Milwaukee, all right? You know, you look down there, Milwaukee. I do like Husky as well when it comes to ratchets and stuff. But you see that? I got the Milwaukee vacuum. I got some more Milwaukee. Some more Milwaukee. It's a Milwaukee up here. It's a box there, that's Milwaukee, okay? And if we go out into the garage, you're gonna see nothing but Milwaukee tools. I have one DeWalt drill, and it was my first drill ever, and it's corded, and it's old, but it still works great, and I still use it. Actually, no, I don't. I don't use it at all, really, because I use my Milwaukee stuff. So, I say all that to say I'm no fanboy, but I'm also not crazy. You see, I have Ryobi stuff too. We go in there, I got big Ryobi bags of tools as well that I use for little small jobs. And when I have the serious jobs, I whip out that Milwaukee. I'm really invested into the Milwaukee atmosphere. I got a bunch of batteries and stuff like that, so I'm not interested in switching over to DeWalt. But that does not mean that everything that Milwaukee makes is great. And to me, as far as these Packout systems goes, I mean, I feel like the DeWalt, again, is still a better deal. I think that's a better value overall. It's just, again, if you plan on building out and you need certain accessories that DeWalt doesn't have, then you might want to consider the, I don't know what I just said, but then you might want to consider the Milwaukee. But other than that, I'll probably get this Ridgid. I mean, if you are a photographer and you find that Ridgid on sale for $100, you can go ahead and rock with that. So anyway, hopefully this is helpful, and I'll see you guys next time.